I love Magnum. I don't know about you. Have you watched Magnum PI? Now, there's a lot of shows that you watch in the 80s that just don't hold up. I mean, I can't really sit around and watch Different Strokes and Silver Spoon. I couldn't watch Silver Spoons back in the 80s. I tell you, I hated that Ricky Schroeder kid. I don't know, something, it just reminded me of everybody in school that I didn't like. But what I want to talk about today is probably the saddest, most shocking episode of Magnum PI that I saw as a kid. Well, maybe not shocking. There's one other episode that's around season 1 or season 2 that's very shocking. The end of it. And I think if you're a Magnum fan, you know what I'm talking about. I'm going to say that because I want to talk about it some other time. This one aired in 1985. Now, I'll be honest with you, my Magnum watching was kind of going down the hill about this time. I was really moving on from really watching appointment TV, as they call it, and the Magnum has already been on how many seasons? 7 seasons by this time. So my interest in Magnum PI was draining, to say the least. But this is episode 21, the final episode of that season. Not the last of the series, just the last of that season, and it's called Limbo. And I don't know if you remember that episode or not, but let me tell you what happened in that episode. Magnum PI died. That's right. From what I understand, now I'm not a huge Magnum fan. I don't know the whole backstory of everything, but so maybe correct me if I'm wrong. Magnum was already tanking in the ratings thanks to the Cosby Show when it was on Thursday night. In fact, CBS had moved Magnum, I think the season before that, or maybe 2 seasons before that, to Wednesday night. I mean, it was still seeing a decline in viewership. So they decided to. They figured they wouldn't get picked up for another season, and they were kind of like, we've done the course of Magnum, let's go on with it. So the creators and Tom Selleck, who's now more of a producer on the show than he was on the other seasons, decided they're going to end that season by killing off Magnum. AC, Rick, all of them, and he meets Mac, who was back in season 1 or season 2. Magnum gets killed. He's running out of a warehouse and he shows him get shot. Anyway, he's in a coma, but he's having this dream or something where he's hanging out with Rick and Higgy Baby and all them, but they can't see him. But he's there and he's hearing them say, "Oh man, I miss Magnum. Magnum's dead," or "Magnum's in a coma. He's not going to pull through." And then but they can't see Magnum, but Magnum can hear what all they're saying. And at the end, Magnum and Mac have this wrong talk, and Magnum is in the clouds, and he walks off toward the sun, to the sun, like going away. And it shows where he's in a coma. I think the little beep 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 thing just kind of. Now, from what I've read, they knew by the time they went into filming this episode that CBS had picked it up for another season. So they kind of knew Magnum wasn't really dead. They brought him back in season 8. He was in a coma, and then he came out of his coma and everything, and tracked down the people that shot him. But I tell you, going into that episode, it was we all kind of knew, like, you know, CBS do those commercials. Is this the end of Magnum? Is it all over for Thomas Magnum? And you kind of hear the buzz, you know, hey, they're going to kill off Magnum. I got to watch it. So maybe it was kind of just a stunt to get people to watch that episode. You know, maybe get the viewers back up for the following season. Man, watching that episode, although I kind of knew or heard that he was going to die, just seeing Magnum die, it was the first time I saw a character that I grew up on, or was growing up on, actually die in a show. Alf never died. No one from the A-Team died. They just disappeared on the A-Team, which you had Amy and a couple of the other girls just disappeared, and Decker and I don't know, some of those generals would come and go episodes and change. And I guess Valerie from the Valerie family died, killed her off. I didn't watch that. But very rarely did you see a main character, at least the main character of the show, like Thomas Magnum. I mean, that's where they get the name of the show, Magnum PI. But I remember watching that episode, and I think he gets shot early. I hadn't watched it in years, but I think he gets shot early in the show, and you're thinking, I bet they're just teasing us. At the end, he's going to wake up from his coma, but they actually did. They killed Magnum, and that's the thing. Although I was heartbroken and shocked, I just couldn't believe that, you know, Magnum could die. That's one thing I also hate. Although I hated to see Magumn die, I kind of hate that they brought it back the following season, which I think they only did one more season, and that season I think is where it started getting kind of really goofy and wacky. I mean, they did one where he was dressed up like Indiana Jones, and it never really had a good season final. You know, I think they just kind of just did a normal episode at the end. If what I remember, it was no big series final like it should have been at 8 when they killed him off. And now that we know there's been no Magumn since then, I don't see why in the 90s they didn't do a Magumn TV show at least. I mean, TV movie. You know, like they brought back Perry Mason and I think maybe Madlock and some of them other shows that would bring back 2 or 3 times a year. Hulk, I think, would do that. You know, have a Hulk movie, made for TV movie. Now that I see that they hadn't do anything with the show, I'm thinking, why didn't they just end it at season 8? And again, I wish they ended it right then. That would have been great. A great way. Now that, like I said, now that I know they didn't do anything more after the series, it would have been a good way to end the character. Anyway, that's a look at the day Magumn died.
Oh man, channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.